Homework Hotline, what is your emergency?
Hi, we have someone very special here in the studio today. You may know her from Homework Hotline and yesterday's trivia winner. Becca couldn't be on the show yesterday, but she was able to see the tail end of it just in time to call it in. She called in the answer to the trivia question, and she was correct, so she won a prize.
Of course.
Yeah, the question was about miners during the Klondike Gold Rush and about a certain food that they would trade gold to obtain. The answer was potatoes. Becca, did you know the answer already, or did you have to look it up?
So I don't think your sound's working, Sam.
Yeah, your sound's not working, so nobody heard anything you said, but if you
Try
could
again.
read lips, that's great.
Sorry
Okay,
about
try
that.
again. Try again.
So, rewind. The question that Becca was asked was about miners during the Klondike Gold Rush, and they would trade gold for a certain food item. The answer was potatoes. They would trade gold for potatoes. Did you know that, Becca, or did you have to look it up?
I had a guess that it was that. I wasn't really sure, and then I used good old Google to confirm my suspicions.
Totally fair, actually. And if you want to answer a trivia question and double check your knowledge with Google, we support that.
You can even just look it up on Google. I mean,
You can even just do that.
you can. No one's checking, but.
So anyways, excuse me. Welcome to Homework Hotline, our live show. You can call us and we can answer your questions in real time. You can watch us on Comcast Channel 22, Prism TV Channel 8007, YouTube Live at Denver DPS TV, Facebook Live at EG Homework, or live stream at livestream.com. Search for DPS TV 22.
Yeah, and keep in mind when you do call us, we can work through your problem with you. You can give us a call at the number on the screen, 720-424-1666. We're here every Tuesday and Wednesday from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m.
So we are actually here to answer science and math questions, and the show is sponsored by the high schools where we teach. Nathan and I teach math at Emily Griffith High School, and Sam teaches at Contemporary Learning Academy. So we found out yesterday, well, I didn't, but you guys did, found out yesterday that Sam can also answer English questions.
That's true.
So if you need help with that, send in those English questions.
Please send in a grammar question. Please do it.
And it is Wednesday, so today we also have a cheeky science experiment.
Yeah, we'll have to scope it out.
Yeah, check out the science demo later in the show.
For those of you who want to turn in your questions through social media, we do understand. We have Darren here taking your questions through social media.
Hey everybody, I'm Darren. I'm an intern here at DPS TV, and today I will be taking your social media questions to ask our teachers. I'm also the trivia master, so at the top of the show, I'm going to be asking a trivia question, and by the end of the show, I want you guys to think about it, and then at the end of the show, answer it. And you could win symphony tickets. So
Just like me.
you'd be just like Becca. So today, our trivia question is, what weather phenomenon is ranked second for causing the most deaths in the U.S. annually? It's kind of a dark question, but that's the trivia question.
Hint, hint, Google. Just saying. All right, so, let's give you our contact information in case you do want to call in. Well, you do have the phone number there, but there are other ways. You can get to Darren and send your questions to us at EG Homework on Facebook or Twitter. You could text your questions to us at 970-680-3771 or email us at homework@emilygriffith.edu. And we'll be here till 5:30 to help you out with your homework today. So let's go back to Darren and start answering some of your questions.
All right, guys, so we got a math question first, and the question is 3x minus 2 equals 8 and x plus 1 equals 1. What value of x satisfies both equations above?
Oh, okay. I'll grab that one since, I made you guys do all the work yesterday.
That sounds fair.
Okay. I'll take it. So they want to know what value of x works for both. Now, you would assume that just means they both have the same exact solution. But one thing to know about these types of equations are that they actually they usually have two solutions. And so what we're probably looking for here is one of the solutions that's the same on both of them. So we'll solve them both, and then we'll look at what we have. So the first thing that we'll talk about is what are these bars, these little lines? They may look like parentheses, but like somebody forgot to curve them or something. They mean a little bit more than parentheses. What they are they're called absolute value. And let me just kind of break these down just a little bit so we know why we're doing what we're doing when we solve. So the absolute value, what it's really referring to is the distance of something from 0. So distance from 0. And what I mean by that is the number line, or if we're doing an absolute value on a coordinate plane, it's the distance from the origin, from just 0. So here's just an example here. If I were to ask you, if I were to say this, the absolute value of 3, if you think of a number line here, and here's my 0, 1, 2, 3. This is, the 3 is actually 3 spaces from 3. So our absolute value of 3 is 3. Okay, maybe sounds weird, but where this starts really making a difference is if we look at negative numbers. So let's say I were to do the absolute value of -3. Well, what that's really asking is what is the distance of -3 from 0? So, well, we can even look at that again and count. So 1, 2, 3. It's 3 spaces away from 0. So that means the absolute value of -3 is 3. Where I'm going with this is when we start to get to equations. So let's say I said the absolute value of some unknown thing is going to be 3. So that means the distance of something is 3. So what is it that the distance of is 3? And actually, you kind of saw my examples up there. We actually saw that x could be 2 things. We saw that it could be +3, because that has a distance of 3. It could also be -3, because that also has a distance of 3. So these absolute value equations actually have 2 solutions. One on the positive end of the scale and then one on the negative end of the scale. So when we solve these, we're going to have a positive solution and a negative solution. So over here, if I go to this equation on the left here, what we're saying is something, this 3x minus 2, is going to have a distance of 8 from 0. So what that means is 3x minus 2 could be +8, because +8 is an 8 away from 0, or 3x minus 2 could also be -8, because -8 is 8 away from 0. So we've kind of bust into 2 equations at this point, and then we can drop those absolute value signs because we're really showing the meaning of it when we bust into these 2 equations, +8 and -8. So from here I can just solve, well, what is 3x minus 2 to give me a distance of 8? We just solve the equations like you would solve any algebra equation. We're going to isolate the variable. So then I get 3x is equal to 10, and then dividing by 3, I get x is equal to 3 1/3. You could say 3. And then over here, I'm going to solve this one. So adding 2, same steps to solve, which is kind of nice. We end up getting 3x is equal to -6, and then divide both sides by 3, and I get x is equal to -2. So both of these solutions, and we could go and plug them in. I'm not going to just for the sake of time, but we could plug them in just to make sure that when I do plug in that value for x, we're making sure that both of them have a distance from 0 of 8, or equal 8 or -8. We could do the same thing with this other equation, and the way that that would work is I'm going to say x plus 1 is going to be a distance of, or it's going to be at 1, or x plus 1 is going to be at -1, because, again, we're talking about distance, and -1 is the same distance from 0 as +1. So solving these equations, I'm going to subtract 1 from both on this one, and I end up getting x is equal to 0. And then over here, subtract 1 on this one, and I get x is equal to -2. Now, although the solutions are not both the same on them, you actually you see it right here. It's This -2 works for that equation, and -2 works for this equation. So if we made x -2, that would be a solution for both of these absolute value equations. So hopefully that helps, and then also hopefully that helps with understanding what does absolute value mean, and then you saw the procedure and the process to solve them. We solved for the both positive side and we solved for the negative side, and hopefully you saw why. So there you have it.
Very nice.
All right. Well, let's go back and get more questions answered. Darren, what do we have?
Awesome. Next we have a science question. Something that I've been wondering for a long time is why does liquid form a sphere in outer space?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that maybe I would argue that not every liquid forms a sphere in outer space. The liquid that we'd be thinking of would definitely be water. Water 100% does form a sphere, or at least spherical-like, blob-like objects in space. And the reason for that is that water, and other liquids as well, but water in particular, the molecules of water are polar. And so water exhibits a property called cohesion, where water molecules are able to stick to each other. And it's that sticking together that water molecules are able to do that means that if you shoot off a little bit of water in outer space, those water molecules that make up that little piece of water, that blob of water, will hold themselves together. If we could jump to my screen really quick, I was just going to show a few pictures to sort of illustrate this point. So if you've ever filled a glass of water too full, you've probably experienced that you can kind of fill a glass of water above the rim and it won't spill over to a point, obviously. But this is an example. Hopefully you can see there's water rising above the rim of the glass here. And water is able to do this because it has cohesion, because the water molecules up on top there are essentially magnetically attracted to the water molecules below in the cup. And gravity, of course, is holding the rest of the water down in the cup. And so we get this little curved, convex surface of the water. So if we look at a water molecule up close, water molecules, most of us probably know that the formula for water is H2O. So what that means is that you have two hydrogen molecules connected to an oxygen molecule. In our diagram here, I can blow it up a little bit. The red balls represent oxygen and the white balls represent hydrogen. And you can see that water molecules have sort of it's often said like a Mickey Mouse head shape. This is the reason for their polarity. So the hydrogen atoms tend toward one side of the oxygen atom, and they hold more of the positive charge on that side, and so you end up with a positive end by the hydrogens and a negative end by the oxygen, and this is what makes water polar. This is why we say water is polar. It's essentially like a little magnet, and you can see here in this diagram we have the negative end of one oxygen attracted to the positive end of a hydrogen here, and that's continued throughout the diagram. And these bonds between water molecules are referred to as hydrogen bonds. They're not as strong as the bonds that hold, say, the hydrogen and oxygen to each other, but they're strong enough to do cohesion, which again is that property that we looked at. Just briefly, I guess I wanted to show you what it actually looks like in outer space. There's some really great YouTube videos that are put out by the space station, the International Space Station. This is an astronaut whose name I should know, but I'm blanking on right now. But he was up in the International Space Station, and he did a demo on what it looks like to wring water out of a sponge. So I'm just going to show a few seconds of this so you can see what that's like. So you've got, I don't know if there's sound here. We don't really need the sound. I'm not sure if that's coming through on your end, so I'm just going to mute it. But okay, so you can see, I'm just going to pause it there. You can see as he squeezes the sponge, right? Or the rag, I guess. He's squeezing water out of the rag. And that's making it so that the rag cannot hold as much water. But you'll notice that the water, on Earth, water would just wring right out of that rag and fall to the ground thanks to gravity. But in space, there is no gravity. And so the water has nowhere to go. If it didn't have the property of cohesion, it would just sort of float off in all directions. But it does have the property of cohesion, and so you can see that it holds together. And you can even see, maybe I can pause it as one floats away, but you can see that, oh, hold on, this is maybe not perfect, but as little pieces of water break off, they tend to break off into little spherical pieces. In any case, there's lots of videos that reference this, and You can check those out. Strongly recommend it. I will just mention, if you modified water by adding something like soap to it, you would break down water's ability to have that cohesive property. It would be more slippery, and water molecules would not be able to come in contact with each other as often to cohere to each other. So I would say not all liquids do form spheres in space, but any polar liquid would.
Got to clarify there.
Got to clarify, it's good. I think it's worth going into that stuff sometimes, right?
Just in
Yeah.
case you were thinking of soapy water in space versus.
Well, I mean, we're saying liquid. If we're saying liquid, we're probably talking about water,
Right.
Like,
Right.
in
And that's
this
probably the
instance.
experience they've seen, like maybe on that YouTube video.
Yeah,
like
maybe
that.
it was
Right.
something like that. Absolutely.
More questions? Darren, do we have anything?
More questions. We have a math question next. The question is, if a rock is dropped into a water well and
Oh,
it
this is a
travels
great one.
approximately 16 to the power of 2 in t seconds, 16t to the power of 2 in t seconds, if the splash is heard 3.5 seconds later and the speed of sound is 1,087 feet per second, what is the height of the well?
I'll let you
Seems-
take that one.
Simple enough. All right. So I'm gonna just, draw a well. Obviously, it'll look a lot like my cylinder from yesterday, and maybe my can from last year. That's my well. Maybe I'll just make it brick or something. Now it's a brick well.
It's like sticking out of the ground.
Yes.
I'm going to critique your well.
Oh, fine.
I'm
Here.
Sorry.
No, it looks like water.
It's not supposed
All
to be
right.
water.
Here.
That's a
There's
great
grass
well.
around it.
Looks fantastic.
Oh, I like
Happy
that.
now?
I'm in. I'm happy now.
All
Yeah,
right.
that looks great.
It's a well in a grassy field. It's very dangerous. You can't even tell it's there, actually. So I'm sure a child will fall in there at some point. But anyway, it's on
not
private
funny.
property.
I'm
so
not laughing.
don't,
Sort of funny.
All right. So a rock is dropped into a water well. So there's some water down here in the bottom, and I don't know why you can see it through the side of this well. Science.
Science.
So a rock is dropped, and I'm gonna have to kind of think through this a little bit. So you got, some kid over here, and he drops a rock, and the rock falls in. The rock is dropped into a water well, and it travels approximately 16 t squared in t seconds.
Inches.
So I'm
What do you
wondering that
see
too.
inches?
It seems like there's no units for the 16.
16t squared.
T squared is time.
Right.
If the splash is heard 3.5 seconds later, and we're saying 1,087 feet per second, so I guess we could say feet. What is the height of the well? And we can mess around with this, but we can actually find the height of the well by saying,
No, what the?
okay, so it splashes in the water, right?
Right.
I actually think the 16t squared in t seconds is kind of irrelevant.
Well,
we
does
say
it mean
it's-
in 16 seconds? T is 16. Is that what it's trying to say?
Okay,
It
here's what I'm
would hit
thinking,
the
is
water.
That's
in-
gravity. Gravity travels at 16 feet per second. Per second. So that's why I'm assuming it's 16.
But what I'm thinking is, if the splash is heard
Right.
3.5 seconds later, yeah, that is the typical
That's
for
gravity.
the
That's the rate of
calculus.
gravity.
Yeah, but I don't think we need that. If
You
it
think
says
you can
if
work
the,
backwards from the speed of sound?
yeah, if the splash is heard in 3.5 seconds later, that means
Sure,
Well,
that would
that
be.
it
That's
takes-
all you
Going
really
down
need
at
to know.
16 feet.
yeah, but I think
But
it's
just
irrelevant. Look,
the sound just traveling up.
if the
right, in
sound is
3.5
traveling
seconds.
up and sound is green in this case, at a rate of 1,087 feet per second,
And the well is just super deep.
and it took 3.5 seconds to hear it. So you're standing up here, you drop this well. Oh, because it has to fall down first. So how long did it take to fall down, and then
Yeah.
the sound travels up?
Right.
Okay.
So
So,
the rock is going at that rate and the sound is going at that rate.
yeah, and I'm assuming that this is feet then, right? So maybe it's something like f of t, like there's some information missing here, equals 16t squared. And then we're saying that what are we saying?
Sorry, we're trying to there's like a typo or something in the problem and that's what we're trying to figure out. We're trying to figure out what did they mean? What did the user mean?
Well, we know how
So-
many feet it traveled up.
Yeah. Well then, I mean, wouldn't the distance be the same?
but the time that it took to hit the water is the question. And I think the problem with this, like the way this is presented, is typically what we see is we don't know 16t squared is what? Is that relating it to, is that like the height related to time?
So T is your time in seconds, it looks like.
Right, so typically the way these are written is you have like h of t or something where it's the height, and then it's related
And then you
to
find
time.
the derivative.
So when
It's a
you
calculus
drop,
problem.
and you actually don't need to find a derivative, because we're not looking at velocity, we're just looking at this. So let's see. So typically the way we see these problems is you like throw a ball in the air. When is it going to hit the ground? And we see this
Right.
quadratic, right?
Right.
But if we're just dropping it, we have something that's, speeding up as it falls until it hits terminal velocity or hits the water or something to stop it. But we don't really know what this 16t squared is related to. Like, what are we relating time to? The bottom of the well?
I'm
or
not sure. I'm
position?
not sure because it's I don't know what 16t squared is. That distance? Like, what is that? The problem doesn't really refer
So
to
we're
that.
given an expression, but we're not given like what it is.
What
set
it's
to.
representing. Yeah,
Right.
is that representing distance? I guess maybe let's just do this. Let's if this is your question, because there's some sort of typo or not enough information in this one, I think, and we did try to figure it out, but we can't say with certainty what that really means. So if this is your question and you really do still need it answered, contact us and send us a little bit more information, or call us. That would be great. And that way we can interact with you over the problem, because with the way it's written, we don't have enough information right now. So we're not going to try and just speculate and solve it. Call us and we'll work on that for you guys. So I guess that being said, maybe we'll try to find another question of yours to answer. So Darren, is there anything else maybe that we could?
It's too bad because I really like this problem. It's got
I
those
know.
2 layers that usually aren't added.
And
with,
your
like, the
well
down
is
and up.
beautiful.
I spent a lot of time on my art.
I mean,
but,
you could just come up with some numbers. We could just.
yeah, I can
think
actually
it's
probably
something that
find
works.
something
Yeah,
similar
maybe
really
maybe
quick.
go
but,
back to it, but
for now, so we're not
well,
just talking about how we
call
don't have
us.
enough information. Then
Right.
We can move on for a second.
do we have anything, Darren?
Yeah, we actually have another science question. The question is, hypothetically speaking, if I were stuck in the forest and was on a strictly vegan diet, could I survive off of tree bark for sustenance? And if so, for how long?
Oh, jeez.
Tree bark.
So
Just tree bark?
yeah, so it turns out that yes, you could survive for a while. So you're on a strictly vegan diet. So I guess what they're saying is you're in the forest. You're not allowed to eat bugs, right? You can't catch any type of living creature. And since you're vegan, really going really ethical out there in the woods, you also can't eat the byproducts of animals. So you couldn't find honey or anything like that. And that leaves you pretty much with just plants to eat. So you could survive for a while off of plants and off of bark specifically. So I looked into this a little bit. Apparently, so first of all, let me say, there have been people throughout time who have lived off of tree bark, or at least supplemented their more complete diets with tree bark. So tree bark being the product of a plant, it's largely going to be carbohydrate tissue. There's going to be some, no doubt, protein and maybe a small amount of fatty acid tissue. But largely, I guess what you would get from this is protein. The outer layer of most trees is going to be really rough to eat. So the other thing you'd have to think about is, and I guess, so let's imagine this is a pine forest. I guess that's fair. There are probably other forests where you have to think about different things, but I know that you can eat the bark of pine trees. Pine bark typically is really rough, so you'd want to maybe boil it before consuming it. And this sounds like a situation where you wouldn't maybe be in that position. So that means that you would have to rip tree bark off and be eating the sort of softer inner cambium. So if we could jump to my screen really quick, I was just going to show the layers of tree bark, so you have the bark out here is the phloem and the periderm. The vascular cambium separates the phloem from the xylem, and the vascular cambium is one of the ways that the tree is going to transport nutrients around itself, and so apparently you can eat the vascular cambium, and it provides a reasonable amount of nutrition. I looked somewhere and it said that you get 500 to 600 calories per pound of tree bark, which seems like harvesting a full pound of tree bark and eating it would be brutal. And the other thing is, like, even if there is, so one issue with eating some plants is that there can be a lot of cellulose or undigestible starches. So cellulose is an example of a long chain sugar that human beings can't break down. This is one of the reasons that we can't really eat grass. So, I mean, you can eat grass. You can physically take grass and put it in your mouth and eat it, and something will come out the other end. But can you digest grass and get nutrition from it? Largely no. And that has to do with the fact that grass is composed of this molecule called cellulose, or has a lot of cellulose in it. I'm just briefly going to show this. So humans eat a lot of starches, right? And cellulose is really similar to starch. What's represented here in the picture, each of these little hexagonal rings represents a single monosaccharide, or a single sugar molecule. So we've got all these monosaccharides in starch, which humans eat. There's a particular kind of bonding between the sugar molecules that's called an alpha-acetyl bond. And that human beings, we are able to produce enzymes in our bodies that break that bond and allow us to use those sugars. But in the case of beta-acetyls, which are bonds between monosaccharides in cellulose molecules, human beings are not able to produce the enzyme that breaks that bond, and so we're not able to pull nutritive value from grass, largely. And this is true of some other plants as well. And in the case of trees, I think that at least a large portion of what you would eat would be what's called indigestible starch or indigestible cellulose. And this stuff would flush your system, I guess is what I would say. A lot of the stuff that you ate would come through the other end, because again, you would not be taking that much nutritive value out of the bark. So I guess I would say you could survive for a while off of tree bark. It would be work for you, but I would question why you're a vegan and living off of tree bark. Like, it seems like if you want to survive, you should give up a little bit on the ethical vegan side. Because if you care that much, if you do survive, and I don't know how long you'd be able to survive, over time you'd become very malnourished. You would really not be getting a very complex diet. Just by eating bugs and honey, if you could find it, and opening up to eating maybe other types of plants and a variety of flowers, maybe mushrooms that you find in the forest that are safe to eat, you could have a really complete diet as a survivalist. But eating just tree bark seems crazy to me.
I don't know the answer to this, but like, cows eat grass, right? And they can sustain, but they have a way to break down that.
Yeah, so cows are called ruminants, and we talk about cows as having 4 stomachs. They really have like a 4-section stomach, but what cows have is a wide variety of bacteria that we do not carry, and they have a system where they let the grass that they eat sit for a while, and it's essentially fermented by the bacteria that are working inside of their gut, and those bacteria provide the enzyme that breaks the beta-acetyl bonds and allows the cow to uptake the glucose and use it.
That's cool.
Makes sense.
It is
So
cool.
yeah, don't sacrifice health for. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, let's not mix like an ethical diet with like I have to survive in the woods. Like those two things are just at odds with each other. Like if you want to survive, survive. If you want to eat like a vegan, well, I don't know what to tell you. Good luck, buddy.
All right. So we're gonna do our science experiment, but before that, we're gonna take a little break. But when we come back, that's where we'll be. We'll see you soon.
All right. Welcome back to the science lab here. So we're just kind of getting set up, but what I'm going to have us do today is we're going to take a look at cheek cells, our own cheek cells, actually. So I did this with my students recently. We're doing a cell biology unit, And it's easy to look at, prepared slides of cells from other organisms, but it's kind of neat to see your own cells. So this is a fairly simple thing to do, but you would need a microscope to be able to do this. You would also need some kind of a slide. We're going to be using traditional glass slides, but you could use like a plastic slide hypothetically, but getting the microscope is really going to be the major key.
And most of the things I've noticed on the show when we do science experiments, they can make at home. So they could probably make a microscope at home then.
Yeah, so what I'm going to say, we really do try to do these things that you guys could also replicate, but if you can't purchase a lab-grade microscope, there actually are some cool ways to approximate a microscope, including using pieces of a laser pointer. So if you're interested in making a cheap microscope, look into either DIY microscopes, just like type in DIY microscopes to YouTube or Google, you get lots of suggestions. Also, you could check out this thing called a fold scope, which I may talk about on the show in a few weeks, possibly. We'll see.
All right.
Okay, so what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to prepare microscope slides, and I'm briefly going to explain how microscopes work, have you guys check out your own cheek cells, and we're going to try to actually photograph them through the microscope lens. Okay,
Cool.
using your smartphones. And this is something that I've actually seen videos of lab scientists doing just to get a quick shot of whenever they're looking at. Okay, so the first thing I need you guys to do, if you could each take a glass slide for me. You can just drop that, Nate. I'll plug it in when we got a second.
See who brushed their teeth this morning.
Okay, we're not gonna get that gross. I promise. This is it's simple. So go ahead and just put them down on the
All right.
desk there. So what I have here is methylene blue. This is a dye that we use to dye different specimens. If we were to look at our cheek cells plain, we wouldn't really be able to see them very well because they're largely translucent.
Right.
So you can pull up a lot of this blue stuff here, but you really don't need much. So you just really need to touch, you don't even need to touch this thing, just touch the end of the dropper to the center of your slide.
Is this just, you said this is a dye, so it's not like just food
Or
color?
a stain, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a stain for, a specimen stain for biological slides. That is all you need, Nate.
Wow. Maybe dip it back in there. Oh, that's probably good.
Like that?
Yeah, those are really nice little tiny drops, guys.
Thank
That's
you.
perfect. You guys are so talented.
Oh.
Okay, so if you could each take a flat toothpick from my box here. Okay, and then gently, what I need you to do is just scrape the inside of your cheek with the toothpick.
All right.
With the tip of the toothpick, specifically.
Oh.
I don't know if I got it.
Oh, either side. Yeah, no, it doesn't feel like much, but if you scraped it with the end, you did. So then all you need to do is dab that end in your little blue dot of methylene blue. And I'm just going to plug these microscopes in.
I don't feel like
That's
I
it?
did it right. Hang on.
Do you want to try again? You're welcome to grab a new toothpick. Yep, and you just kind of dab it in there a couple times. You dab it in there, Nate?
Yeah, I did.
If we have any kind of an issue, we can always try again.
Okay.
You guys really did do small. I'm always like really on my students about tiny dots, but to them, like a tiny dot is just like so much of it.
Right.
You guys took me really seriously. Okay, so what I have here are glass cover slips. These are really thin sections of glass.
Place this.
And what we're going to do, microscopes really see in an almost two-dimensional plane. They don't see 3D very well, and so you'll notice as we look at these things, we'll be seeing sort of things in a 2D plane. If there's cells that are kind of rolled on themselves, parts of them will appear out of focus.
Okay.
So this will help us a little bit to flatten them into a 2D plane. So go ahead and take that.
Oh, is that because of like the precision of the lenses?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Really,
Exactly, just because of the focus.
Right.
And you can see in 3 dimensions, but only a 2-dimensional plane is really
kind of like
focus.
when we take a picture, right? And like you're in focus and everything else is a little bit blurry.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, so just cover your blue dot, and you should see it spread out a little bit as you do that.
Yeah.
You can push it down just to get it to spread a little bit more. Okay, cool. So, and we can just, I'll just have you guys wait to look at these for just a second. I was just going to explain really quickly how microscopes work. So microscopes have 2 kinds of lenses. They have the optical lens, that's the part that your eye is going to go to, and they have the objective lenses down here, which increase the power of the optical lens. And it's really simple to figure out the power of an objective lens. You can just look on it, and it tells you the magnification. So like this one, the first number here is 10. So there's a 10 times magnification from that guy.
Okay.
This guy here, you see it says 4, so it's a 4 times. And this guy here,
40.
40.
It's a big one.
The optical lens provides 10 times magnification. So the combination of the two lenses actually multiplies. So if we have the optical lens and add the smallest objective lens, which has a power of 4 times, we would have a total magnification of?
What was the first one?
10 was the optical lens.
40.
So 40,
Okay.
right? So 40, and then as we bump up to 10, we get 100, and as we bump up to 40, we get 400
Wow, okay.
times total magnification.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me spread these out for you guys, and I'm here to help you as your biology teacher, but I'm going to try to walk you through this. Okay, so the other part of the microscope that we should just think about is the stage. So the stage can be raised and lowered by these focusing knobs on the left here. The largest focusing knob is called the coarse focus. The coarse focus focuses it makes big changes to focus. Down here, this smaller knob is the fine focus, right? It makes smaller changes to the position of the stage. So we'll use that second. So what I want you both to do is, could you set first set your objective lens to the lowest power.
Lowest power?
Yeah, and we always want to start on microscopes at the lowest power objective lens because that gives us the broadest view, and that makes it such that we can sort of see what we're looking at, and then we can zoom in from there.
Right, because if you zoomed in a lot and you were just like had a lot of blue, you'd be like, I don't know which direction to go.
Right, and we can often see clumps of cells as we look from above, and then we can pick, that looks like a good clump, we can zoom in. Okay, so now you can use the little clips to secure your microscope slide on the stage. And you can use those little clips just to cover it up. They're sort of handy for just keeping the slide in place. Okay, and then what you want to do is you want to look through your objective lens and move the coarse focus back and forth until you see what you should see are a lot of blue dots, which are your cells. At the lowest focus, the cells really just appear like the blue stained dots. But as we get closer, we should be able to see some difference. So if you get close to focused, use the fine focus to bring it even closer into focus.
Okay.
And then Nate, when you get a set, can I also just see what you're looking at? So what we're going to try to do, Homework Hotline viewers, to let you see what we're seeing, is we're going to actually take a photograph of what we're seeing in the slide. We'll send it to our own Gmail, and then we'll have Darren, who's standing patiently at the social media board, pull that picture up for us.
So there's a needle on it,
Is it
and
just
is that
a blue dot?
is that for size, or is that like to give you reference for size, or is that to
So no, that's for
line up
location
the
position.
center? Okay.
So that's the line at the center. So what you really want to do is push the part of the specimen you want to see most to the end of that needle. That's the center right there. So as you zoom in from there, whatever you positioned right in front of that will be at the center.
That way I don't lose it whenever I'm zooming.
Exactly. Can I just take a look and see
yeah,
where
of
we're at
course.
with yours?
So we have some like dark blue dots.
Oh
and
yeah,
those are my
so the dark
cells.
blue dots are your cells. That is perfect.
All right.
Okay. Fantastic. And we're not going to take a picture at the lowest zoom because it's just not that interesting yet.
Yeah, it literally just looks like a blue kind of like spill with some darker blue dots on it right now.
Exactly
just
right.
So you know.
Becca, have you gotten your little blue dots?
I think so.
Can I check just to see?
Yeah.
Let me just double check. Science teacher.
Okay.
All right. Oh, we got here. Oh yeah. Oh look, did you already zoom in?
Yeah, I zoomed in.
Okay, Becca, overachiever. Okay.
She's like that student who's kind of ruining your lesson because
she already did everything. I'm
That's
just like,
that's yeah.
yeah, Becca, you did
Sorry.
not get many cheek cells, but that is definitely one right there. Okay, so can we try to get that one? Okay, fine, Becca, you win. All right, so Becca's got one of her cheek cells pulled up into pretty good focus at the highest magnification. So Becca, what I'll have you do is just adjust the fine focus a little bit, try to get that perfect position, and then I'm going to talk to you about photographing. In the meantime, Nate, thank you, patient student.
I follow instructions.
Okay, that's right.
Good job.
So Nate, what I'll have you do now is, can we bump up to the 100 power, 100
All
times
right.
power?
So we're just going to turn this a
Yep,
little bit.
just rotate
We're
it.
looking for
You're rotating it clockwise, I
this
guess.
way,
I
right?
lost it.
Because this is the
There we go.
400 power.
That's exactly right. So, and we just want to bump up one power at a time, again, just to make sure, okay, we see what we're seeing, move it to the center, move the part of the specimen we want to see to the center.
So like now it's a little off the needle, so I kind of want to move it a bit
Yes,
more.
exactly.
Right.
So now just adjust gently your slide. Becca, thank you for waiting patiently over there. We'll be with you in just a moment.
No problem.
All right, there we go.
Okay, fantastic. Let me just take a look here. Beautiful. Okay. And I'm even thinking that maybe, yeah, these slightly more clear ones. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a perfect
Oh yeah.
one. Okay, so one of the things,
cool.
Becca, your cell is a little bit folded. So one of the things, Nate's got one here, you can see the nucleus perfectly.
See, because I
That's
waited
cool.
and followed instructions.
So Nate, take a look there at that.
All right.
And again, we're just at 100 times power, so we're going to bump it up to 400 times power.
Wow.
Take a couple pictures, send them, see them, and then of course get back to the normal thing. So Nate, bump up to 400 times.
400. So one more clockwise.
One more clockwise turn. We're going to bring that into focus. Can you still see that guy there? Can you see the nucleus?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, really, this is a good cell. Do you need to use the fine focus at all to bring it slightly more into focus?
Yeah. Eyelashes are getting in the way.
Yeah, and it's sort of tricky getting the feel for using a microscope. It's a little awkward at first, but it really is something that if you practice it a little bit, it starts to feel more natural. I have taken to just looking at lots of things under the microscope, and sometimes it's a total failure, like the microscope doesn't reveal much. Other times it's cool, and I'm getting better at using it. Okay, so now photographing. This is the tricky thing. So smartphones are actually surprisingly good at capturing these images. I have an image right here, which I'll just show to you guys. So there's a level of focus that we can get. So pull up your cameras, and what we're going to do is we're going to actually just point the camera right down the barrel. It cannot be directly against the piece here. It needs to be a little ways away, and you're kind of, yeah, Becca, do you see how you can kind of get that circle to grow a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
So this is another thing that I have gotten good at because I have a bunch of students and I was helping all of them take pictures. So I practiced like 35 times. This is really tricky to do at first, but once you get a good shot, you can really see pretty well.
This is way harder than taking a selfie.
So one thing we can also do, if you can just hold it steady, you can get a partner to come over and focus and to snap the picture.
Oh,
see that is. Do you see that, Nate?
Could I do a video? Is that possible?
Yeah. Why don't you try a video and see if you can
Try a video, because then you guys can see how difficult this is. But it's possible. I see it. I just have to get the right.
So both. Oh, see, that's perfect right there. Okay, I know that we're making a lot of noise over here, and you have no idea what's going on. Just a moment.
There we go. I got a good one.
Okay, you want to try to send that to Darren over there, and we'll have him pull that up. Becca, you're so close. Could I help you?
Yeah.
Let me just see. So, oh, that's so perfect. Okay.
There we go.
It's so hard to.
It's really hard to hold steady, isn't it?
So yeah, if you do the video, you can do a screenshot.
All right. So Nate's got a good screenshot.
Oh my gosh.
See that level right there, Becca? That's what you want. But it's very hard to hold steady, and it's really, you have to be very precise.
Okay.
And it's a little bit frustrating, and several of my students were not happy with me when I tried to have them do this.
Yeah, the video makes it a lot easier, especially these high resolution
I might try
HD,
that,
and then you can just take a screenshot of it.
That's fantastic.
So it's homework at emilygriffith.edu.
Homework at emilygriffith.edu. If you want to send in a question.
Okay, I'm going to try a video.
I want to see how fast you can get this.
So I just,
Wait.
my phone just realized.
Okay.
Well, let me see. I can try it with your phone. I'd like to try.
Homework at
Too many cell pictures.
Yeah. It's going to make a selfie joke, and I guess I'm making it now, but.
That is so good. Oh. All right, Darren, so hopefully that'll come through in a minute there. Oh, you got it on record.
Yeah.
All right.
One more time. I'm not very good at this.
Oh.
Now, one of the tricks is this thing moves.
And using that as kind of a stabilizer.
That's what I was thinking is maybe. Oh, there we go. I think I can get it.
You snapping it? Oh, hold on.
Oh, Nate, push the button.
Let's see. Oh yeah, I got a pretty good one on Nate's.
There we go.
I'm gonna text it along here.
I got one.
All right. All right. Can you send it? Can we
Like
send
we're
it?
fishing or something.
All right. So
Almost.
I sent another one from Nate, assuming we got the.
Okay, so I'm sending it to.
And I emailed it. Should I have texted it?
I just texted it to that email address.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to email it to.
Interesting.
I'll text it also.
You double check the spelling.
Oh, I got it right there.
Yeah, that's gonna be it. That's the one I
saved.
used.
All right.
Okay, well,
Okay, share.
Oh, you know what? I'm out of data. I should connect to Wi-Fi because this will take an hour.
the slight technical difficulties, folks.
I need to upgrade my.
We have some really great pictures here. I just
iPhone
wish you
plan.
could see them.
I don't know if mine's that great, but okay, where am I sending it to?
To homework at
I say this every day. Homework at Emily Griffith.
If only there were some sort of screen that had all of our contact information.
Right.
So,
we
you know what,
could-
and also what I will do, I have a really great shot of a cell that
Yeah,
I
mine
will
is
send
still
along
sending.
here.
Okay, sending. Is it there?
Is it 2 F's in Griffith?
Yes.
.edu. Okay, I also texted one of mine, so hopefully one of those will come through.
It's not coming through.
Yeah, so I can maybe. Well,
Yeah, mine is still sending.
I might try to
because of my
text it
terrible
in a
data.
second. So what was our? Try to text it too.
The
That
address?
might work. So let's text it. 970. What was it again? I say it every day.
And we can call it in and talk about it.
And so-
970.
what we could also try to do is get this sorted out. We could
1666?
go to commercial,
Oh,
jump
here we
back.
go. So
there you
680,
go.
1666. Okay. Watch us at Homework Hotline struggle with technology.
It's tough sometimes, guys.
This is
It
how we
really-
know we're getting old.
It really is
Yeah.
tough.
Okay, I'm texting it now as well. There we go.
I think that might
Sent.
have sent.
It said sent.
Nope, it's sending.
So where do we get the text? They go to, okay. Texts just go to our email or our Gmail. So if you're texting us, it just goes straight to the Gmail. So we're refreshing right now.
Okay, well,
Maybe it's been
let-
reporting
let's-
as spam.
And let's maybe do this while we're trying to figure this out. Do you think is there a chance that we could just show what you guys have on your screens to a camera just briefly? It won't look
Oh,
fantastic.
yeah, we can do that.
But let's try to do that. Let's try to do the close-up camera, or maybe right here. If you guys want to go carry that up to
I don't know
Jeff.
if I'll
and
be able
let's-
to reach because I'm
Oh, you're
connected to
tied.
a lot of wires, but
Oh, that is so true.
Oh, there's,
should I?
get out of here.
It looks good. Oh yeah.
Get
so there
outta
you can
here.
See, you can see Nate's, but
just trying to hog
still
the
just
camera.
not quite in focus.
Do you see that little blue dot?
Okay.
See that little blue dot?
Well,
There it is.
You know, they'll probably come up as we're answering more questions.
yeah.
we
So
can-
hopefully it will. So I tell you what we're gonna do, guys. We're gonna jump back to the homework, or we're gonna go to commercial break. Then we'll jump back to the Homework Hotline studio. And when we do that, we will hopefully have a few cell pictures to show you. See you in a minute.
Hi guys. Anyways, so we did actually, my awesome cheek cell picture came through. So let's show you it. Don't judge my photographer skills. It's not the best. But that right there, you guys, is my cheek cell.
And I'll actually just jump in. It's actually, I think it looks like more than one cheek cell sort of folded on itself. So what you often get is
so-
multiple cells kind of together. And so definitely the fact that it's darker. If we could jump to Nate's screen, beautiful picture, Becca. Not to take anything away there. But if we could jump to Nate's screen possibly. Nate also took a picture. His came through in his own Gmail. And you can actually see the nuclei of the cells in his.
Oh, his is way cooler. He has way more of them on there. I
Yes,
just
you
had
can
one.
see more of that, like the darker places are there's going to be more tissue folded over, but that one cell right in the center just below that centering needle, you can see sort of the outline of the actual cell. You can see little dots inside that are going to be different organelles, and you can see that large black center or darker center. That's the nucleus of the cell. That's the nucleus of
okay.
Nate's cheek cell. That contains all of
Very
Nate's
cool.
DNA.
So you're saying he didn't brush his teeth this morning.
Was that what it was? It's that
I just
Becca's-
have more DNA.
Becca's mouth is just super clean. Is that
It's so clean that just...
No cells.
So, well, anyway, so a little bit of technical difficulty, but it really is kind of cool to see your own cheek cell, guys. So if you
Yeah,
ever
totally.
have a chance.
I didn't know that you could take a picture, a cell phone picture through that.
Yeah, and again, it
microscope.
is tricky, and there are some technological problems that can come up, but it's pretty good. And I've actually gotten some really great shots for class that I've used on different things that we've looked at under the microscope.
Yeah,
So
definitely
it's
useful.
working for me, at least temporarily.
Yeah, you see me like you got that pretty dialed in.
Yeah, I'm a little bit better
Yeah.
than I was when I started.
Yeah.
Practice makes perfect. All right, well, I guess we have time that we can answer some more of your homework questions. So, do we have a
Jigsaw question?
reading this from here. A cheeky question. Do we have a quick question that we could possibly answer?
As a matter of fact, we do have a pretty quick math question. The sum of three consecutive integers is 63. What is the lowest of the three integers?
Yeah, so we won't get into the, just for time here, sum of three consecutive is 63. And I'll throw integers in there. So when we talk about integers, we're talking about whole numbers, really. So what we have here is we have a first number, second number, third number. And these are going to be one right after the other. So if, for example, you had 3, the second number would be 3 plus 1, or 4. And the third consecutive number would be 3 plus 2, which is 5. I like doing this because it's a good way to kind of see how you want your equation to look. And you can also see, look, this is a 3, this is a 3, this is a 3. And we don't actually know these numbers. That's what we're looking for. But we kind of see this pattern and see how you're going from really one number to the next. You're just adding 1. So what we can say is the first number, instead of calling it 3, we can call it n. The second number then would be n plus 1. And the third number would be n plus 2. And all these numbers added together add up to 63. So n plus 1 plus n plus 2. And I kind of skipped an explanation here, but the idea is you're trying to write an equation with one variable. And using n and then n plus 1 and n plus 2 kind of gives you that 1 that you're looking for. So we combine these, n plus n plus n, 3n. 1 plus 2 is 3 equals 62, and then we just solve this. 3n equals 59. And did I make a mistake here?
It was 63.
Oh, I'd have put 62, okay. 63. And I knew I made a mistake because 59 is not divisible by 3, so that wouldn't have worked. Because we want integers. So this should have been 63, in which case this would have been 60. And 60 divided by 3 is 20. So the numbers we have are 20, the next one 21, 22. So that's kind of the quick algebraic way of doing that.
Super quick.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's find the answer to the trivia question. You guys are not doing your job.
I know, I'm going to have to take a day off next
in.
week.
Yeah, just
Google
like
the
sneak in the
answer.
back and call it like, I have an
Yeah.
answer. I mean, free symphony tickets. Come on, guys. All right, well, anyways, let's get the answer because I am curious. Darren, let's read the question one more time and tell us what the answer is.
Okay, so the question was, what weather phenomenon is ranked second for causing the most deaths in the U.S. annually? And the answer is tornadoes.
I thought so.
Tornadoes and or twisters, depending on what you call them. The Fujita scale is a common way of measuring the strength of tornadoes. The scale ranges from F0 tornadoes that cause minimal damage through to the F5 tornadoes, which cause massive damage. Most tornadoes have wind speeds less than 100 miles per hour or 161 kilometers per hour.
Wow.
I was always fascinated by weather and natural disasters and stuff. I don't know, it's
You know, these kinds of questions always make me wonder, okay, if tornadoes kill the second most people, what kills the most
I
people?
was about to ask that too.
What
I
is-
wonder what
what-
that is. Hurricanes, maybe?
lightning,
Lightning?
maybe?
Lightning? Is it lightning?
I'll have to look into that.
I thought
It's
earlier
pretty
I thought
common,
earlier
right?
I thought
Yeah.
floods. You know who can answer this for me?
Well, floods, yeah, a lot of people are killed when there's a big,
Yeah.
actual flood. But one thing I didn't know is the extreme tornadoes, I'm guessing that would be an F5, can travel up to 100 miles.
Oh, that's a lot of
Yeah.
land, a lot of damage. I know there are a lot of patterns with it and Sam, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but when we go from high pressure to low pressure or low pressure to high pressure, when the temperature changes really drastically
Yeah.
is when when I lived in Kentucky, that's when we would get the tornado warnings all the time, was that crazy change in temperature.
Yeah, it's a major mixing of hot and cold air, because then you get really quick wind speeds, and because of the rotation of the Earth, you get that natural spin happening.
Oh, I'd like to talk more about tornadoes because they are so interesting, but we do have to head out. We'll be back again to answer your questions, and we'll be back with another trivia question for you to answer. So we'll see you again next week. Remember, it's from 4:30 to 5:30 on Tuesday and Wednesday. Thank you guys for joining us today. We appreciate it.